Wolverine, the animalistic savage mutant, and Conan, the Crom-worshipping barbarian from Cimmeria, are both legends in their own rights, and both are known for their berserker rage. Now, when these two forces collided in the pages of comics, it felt like an unstoppable force struck an immovable object, and in this video, that's exactly what we're gonna explore. The collision of Conan and Wolverine. So get ready for a thrilling ride as we explore What If Volume 2, Issue 16, and Savage Avengers Issue Number 1. Let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What if Conan battled Wolverine? What If Volume 2, Issue 16 begins on the moon where the Shi'ar Empress Lilandra has teleported our favorite mutant team. There she passed a sentence on their puissant teammate, the doppelganger of Jean Grey who called itself Phoenix. But the mutant heroes could not just stand and watch their friend die, so they challenged the Shi'ar guards to trial by combat, and a fierce fight ensued between the two sides. Now, these events were originally seen in X-Men issue number 137, but this time around, things were going to turn out differently. Why? Well, the Watcher was involved, and whenever he is involved, you can expect something strangely amazing to happen. Nevertheless, in the midst of the battle, Jean reverted to her Dark Phoenix persona. Somehow, Wolverine tumbled into the Watcher's realm, and he sent Wolverine back to his own reality. But not before giving the clawed mutant a taste and experience of the myriad of temporal realities that the Watcher beholds. After this, Wolverine hurled Colossus towards Phoenix, which gave Jean enough time to revert to her original heroic persona. She knew she had to take the ultimate step to save Earth and the universe, so she committed suicide before the horrified eyes of her lovers, Cyclops and Wolverine. But what if the Watcher did not meddle with the fight? What if he did not send Wolverine back to where he came from and simply abandon him in one of the realms he journeyed through in the Watcher's home to an age undreamed by man? In other words, what if Wolverine had lived during the age of Conan the Barbarian? So yeah, Wolverine had been transported to the Hyborian Age, where Conan once ruled the realms of men, but the wild was ruled by all sorts of creatures. Dinosaurs, barbarians, big cats, you name it. Even Proteus, the reality-altering Omega-level mutant with vast psionic abilities, gave him a feel of what Conan was feeling now. He had absolutely no idea where he was, but he sure knew that it was not the moon. A dinosaur was after the lives of Caranthes, a priest of Isis, and his followers. Caranthes was recruiting soldiers for the Acheron army, but Wolverine did not know any of this. All he wanted was to save the humans from the dino's wrath, and that's what he did. The mutant jumped onto the head of the monster and found a spot beneath its scale to pick up the brain. The priest thanked Wolverine for his services and offered him a position in the service of King Sumob. But the mutant hero could not understand a damned word that Caranthes spoke. But since the priest nodded in a certain direction, Wolverine followed. He assumed that the bald old priest must have pointed towards a city, and sure enough, Wolverine's hunch paid off. Meanwhile, the evil priest named Zukala came in touch with Conan to tell him that if Conan brought Caranthes before him, he would bring back Belit, the queen of the Black Coast, from the dead. You see, Conan loved this woman, Belit, and she died before Conan could even confess his love for her. Of course, he did not care if two priests killed each other as long as he got back his love of life. On the other hand, our time-traveling mutant reached a tavern, but he had no money to buy himself a few cold ones. So, like any self-respecting man in need of booze, he knocks down a drunk soldier and takes his money. However, the whole scene unfolded before Red Sonja, she-devil of the Hyrcanian Steppes. Now, Red Sonja got her first name because of her beautiful crimson hair. When Wolverine saw this fair maiden clad in chainmail and with a sword in hand, the first thought that came to his head was of Jean Grey, his unrequited love. Red Sonja attacked Wolverine assuming he was a spy, and although she was a force to reckon with, Wolverine's adamantium claws proved too much for Sonja's primordial sword. Logan had bested her in battle, so she offered herself up to him as some sort of prize, something about a vow she had taken. Anyway, that isn't a man's style, so he left her there, horny and unattended. Naturally, she followed him as he walked to get his much-delayed drink. At the tavern, the two of them share the table and nearly share a kiss when Sonja spots an old friend, Conan. She wondered why he was in town and she followed him discreetly. Conan had come for Caranthes so that he could be taken to Zucala, but Caranthes was under Sonya's protection. Feeling all chivalrous, Logan came to help Sonya and offered to take down the long-haired enemy. Anyway, Caranthes could not stand all of this and attacked Conan, but since he ducked, Sonya got hit and fell unconscious. Logan could not bear to see another one of his lady loves get hurt, so he took on Conan. The two engaged each other. I cannot really say that it was a glorious battle. I mean, it was a savage against a barbarian, not two knights fighting each other. However, no one was giving the other the edge, but the edges of their blades were clashing, and clashing well. Conan managed to retrieve a magically forged sword that belonged to Caranthes. Interestingly, Logan's adamantium sword was not able to slash Conan's sword, which was surprising to Logan. One might say the combatants were evenly matched. Wolverine was more disciplined in the art of the samurai, and Conan knew no discipline but his own. It wasn't long before that a victor was decided. Round 1 went to Conan as he slashed the clawed mutant's head, decapitating and killing him. As Logan's body convulsed in his crimson liquid, Conan took Sonya's unconscious body and bound the priest, ready to take him to Zucala. You see, the human brain can survive 6 minutes without a supply of oxygen, but Wolverine was no human. He possessed an extraordinary healing factor. His body healed quickly, but not his brain. The lack of oxygen had brought to fore Wolverine's suppressed animal nature. He was now experiencing his berserker rage and had become the feral Wolverine, and all he wanted was to find and rescue his mate, no matter the cost. Of course, Conan smelled his way to the temple where Zucala served. He saw Conan laying Red Sonja on a stone-cold slab which smelled of innocent blood. Evidently, it was a sacrificial altar, and Logan was having none of it. Conan had defeated Logan once and thought he could do it again, but the servant of Crom was not facing the same man. This time around, Logan was in his most ferocious form and no bars were being held. It was do or die for both men. Damn, I wonder what a fight between Hugh Jackman as Logan and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan would be on the big screen. Anyway, as the two of them fought, Zucala figured that Logan had to be taken care of, lest his plans would fail miserably. Eventually, he understood that Logan was not a demon, but a time-displaced man, so he opened a portal for Logan to go into. Oh yes, he also cast a spell on him, some kind of translation spell so that Logan and the others could communicate. As Wolverine slowly comprehended the wizard's offer, Conan used the moment's respite to cauterize his wound. Wait, did I tell you that Logan kinda severed Conan's sword hand? Well, there you go, I just told you. Conan understood the folly in his actions and sought to escape with Red Sonja, but Zucala summoned Jak the Noga, the demon of the Lost Land, to stop Conan. But by now, Wolverine's humanity had returned and the two warriors had stopped the demon. Unfortunately though, a certain Cimmerian passed through the portal meant for a certain mutant. Conan ended up in the blue area of the moon, while Logan got stuck in the Hyborian Age. Wolverine ended up joining Red Sonja in her path and destiny towards Aquilonia, where the land was ripe with activity for warriors as spirited as them. On the other hand, Conan causes the destruction of the universe when he breaks psychic connection between Cyclops and Jean Grey, which allows the Phoenix Force to take full control of Jean. Wolverine vs. Conan, finally settled. Savage Avengers number 1. So there was this opera singer in Vienna who was going about his day, singing for folks and all that, but the poor fellow did not know the tragedy that was about to befall him. The poor opera singer tells the men who kidnapped him that he had kidnapping insurance and his men were instructed to pay the abductors. So basically, the opera singer was offering money to his kidnappers, but they did not want it. The leader of the cultists immediately dismissed the opera singer's offer and ordered his men to take the opera singer to a temple called the City of Sickles. This particular City of Sickles to the Cross, a massive bowl of blood and corpses. Signor Saviano was horrified at the sight, and in fear, he told the leader of the cultists that he had an important and powerful friend in high places, so if any harm came to him, these powerful friends would hunt down the abductors and make them pay. However, the man simply ridiculed Signor Saviano by saying that he was counting on his powerful friends to come and rescue the singer. But why would you say that? Well, we will get to that in just a bit. So anyway, the head cultist explains to Signor Saviano that the giant bowl he saw beneath him was to be filled with the blood and bones of the finest specimen that humanity has to offer. What he meant was that he was bringing the most talented individuals from across the globe and murdering them to fill the giant bowl with their blood. But the most important kind of blood that he needed was that of the fiercest warriors from across the globe. These people are committing all these murders, but why? Well, they wanted to summon a dark god called Jotun Lao, an eldritch god. The high priest pulled out a sickle and decapitated Signor Saviano in cold blood as the singer's warm blood dripped into the giant bowl of horrors, filling it a bit more. Meanwhile, a certain Crom-worshipping barbarian from Samaria found himself in the savage land. He was battling his way through a horde of hand ninjas while trying to infiltrate the city of Sickles so that he could lay his hand on a priceless amulet that contained a gem the size of an eye. Conan had lapsed into his berserker rage and was killing men left, right, and center, but when he struck the last one of them in the head, he heard this clanging sound. Well, the man had struck his blade into Wolverine's head, who was just standing there, unfazed and unbothered. Conan was shocked and invoked Crom. The clawed mutant slashed Conan across his face using the adamantium claws. In response, Conan grabbed a katana and tried to slash Wolverine, but the mutant blocked it using his arms before telling Conan that his arms were made out of metal that could not be broken. In order to buy himself some time, Wolverine kicked Conan in the crotch and then realized that Conan was not a member of the Hand. Therefore, there was no point in fighting Conan. Wolverine tells the barbarian to halt, but the latter takes it as an order and attacks Wolverine with a large boulder, which Wolverine slashes into two with his claws before using one of the pieces to bash Conan with it. Wolverine asks Conan to stay down while there is still time, but the barbarian rebuts him by saying that he will stay down only when he is dead. Somehow Conan manages to lodge his sword into Wolverine's chest and assumes that his opponent is dead. He tells Wolverine that he was a great warrior and died an honorable death, but of course, Wolverine was far from dead. The deathless mutant removed the katana from his chest and passed it over to the barbarian. When Conan took his fighting stance once again, Wolverine had no choice but to slice the katana. But we all know that Conan was as headstrong as Wolverine, and the barbarian tackled his opponent off the cliff where they were fighting, and like a violent version of Humpty Dumpty's fall, the two warriors came crashing down into a village below. The two of them find themselves in a beer cellar, and Conan is the first one to get back to his senses. He opens up a keg and starts drinking. After having his fill, he pours some on Wolverine, waking him up. Wolverine asks how Conan ended up in Savage Land, to which Conan replies that he does not remember. All he knows is that he was fighting alongside the Avengers but was mysteriously transported to Savage Land. Wolverine does not really like the Avengers, and he makes his dislike utterly clear. In fact, he disparages them for leaving one of their own behind. After exchanging introductions, the two of them kind of praise each other for the awesome warriors they were. Conan tells the clawed mutant that because of those awesome blades, he is a formidable warrior and a formidable foe in the truest sense of the word. On the other hand, however, they had to part ways, at least for now. Both the men shook hands and left on their own paths. The story continues after this, but for the sake of the video, I will stop here. If you do want to know what happened next, let me know in the comments and maybe we can make another video on Savage Avengers. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.